As soon as the Mormons had arrived in Missouri, attempts were made to stop them from voting in local elections. Local settlers rioted and destroyed property. The governor of Missouri had to send in troops to restore order. The Mormons were held responsible for all of the trouble, and their leaders, including Smith, were imprisoned and even condemned to death. As rumors spread that the Mormons were stirring up the Indians and freeing slaves, the governor declared that they were public enemies who must be exterminated or driven from the state if necessary for the public good. This led the Mormons to head to Nauvoo. In the winter of 1838, the Mormons left Missouri. Smith had been released from prison on the understanding that he left with them. Smith was unwilling to go too far west, as this would take them into the great American desert. Instead, they went to the tiny town called Commerce in Illinois. Smith renamed it Nauvoo, and the Mormons were allowed to develop it as an independent city-state. They could even make their own laws. They set up a very close-knit, cooperative community of hard-working Mormons, and this community prospered. By 1844, Nauvoo was the largest city in Illinois. It was described as the best-built city in the West, with none of the unfinished temporary appearance of most of the settlements there. Dominating the city was a giant Mormon temple. The Mormons tried to create an ideal society in which no one was poor or homeless, and where evils of drink and smoking simply did not exist. By now there were 35,000 Mormons, with more on their way from Europe, where Mormon missionaries had been hard at work. Many of these were poor people who had been promised salvation and the chance for a new life. It at first seemed that the Mormons had got the peace that they were long looking for. They governed themselves and set up their own army, called the Nauvoo Legion, with 4,000 men defending them. However, Joseph Smith made some serious mistakes. The success of the Mormons and the fact that they had kept themselves to themselves was making them even more unpopular with other people in Illinois. But Smith's real troubles came from his own people. In 1844, he received a revelation from God, which said he was allowed to practice polygamy. At this time, many people regarded the idea of having more than one wife as going against basic Christian principles and thought. Many Mormons thought that this idea was wrong and denounced Smith as a false prophet. They even criticized him in their own Mormon newspaper. Smith replied to this by destroying the presses of the newspaper, which led to claims that Smith himself had become a dictator.